Are you ready to rock today? We have three outstanding people that have joined us for a panel discussion about M2. And we're talking about the past, the present, and the future of M2. And it's going to be wide open as far as their discussion. All I'm going to do, and my great co host, Tony K, are going to do, is just ask a prodding question. And we're going to turn them loose to answer it between all three of them. And our guests today are Julia and Dr. Arnie and Will, all of which you all know within this community as outstanding community members that add total value to what we are accomplishing. So stand by and keep your seat. This is the Swarm Unplugged podcast, where we get to know the Be Social community and encourage others to join us. With hundreds in the community, we want to get to know all of you better. From the newbie to the expert to the project partners, we will be learning who they are and how they can best benefit from Be Social. I'm Christopher Knight, so let's get started. You know, it truly is amazing at times when you have a community like Bees, and you have a token of your own. We call M2, and you follow its progress and look at its future. And I think we all know what it means and how important it is to the community. So today is completely focused in that area. I know we're doing a lot of other things, but today it's all about M2. And it's not M2 of the future, M2 of the past, but M2 as we know it and all of the above. But before I get into that, I also would like to introduce my excellent co-host, Mr. Tony K.
Well, Chris, I hope you can hear me. Rick, sorry, I might be giving you challenges here, but I'm actually on the roof. I had all kinds of stuff happen today, as I tried to let you guys know. So got some issues, so I'm going to be actually doing this from the rooftop. And we do have a wonderful day, at least, so I can give you a little bit of a view maybe from here. So there's the mountains, there's the lake. And in case you're wondering what I'm doing on the roof, it's I got kicked out the house. And no, I'm just kidding. I had to get on the roof because we had some estimates that were being done, and last time they were here, it was hours on end. So you're stuck with me being on the roof. Sorry. So I might cut in and out as we've got some other stuff going on. So bear with me. I appreciate your patience.
Well, you know, it's actually, this is sometimes we come in with a little bit of humor, but today it's very serious because Tony is actually telling you exactly what's going on. He has to be on the roof for these inspectors and insurance and everything else. And he said, at first he said, I don't know if I can be on or not. And I said, well, I don't care where you are. Just put your face on camera. It'll be great. So you're seeing him in real life right now. This is the real Tony K that's talking to you from the roof of his house, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So my.
Tell me,
you know,
Chris, I got to ask you, how on earth did we get such talent in one space, in one show? I mean, how'd you do that?
That's such a great question. It really is.
Seriously, how did you do that?
Well, you know, all three of them are outstanding individuals. My goodness, I don't know. Actually, they were kind enough to accept my invitation. That's all I can say. It may not be because they like me or not, but they just accepted anyway. How about that?
We'll take it. We'll take that. Actually, we could just ask them, right?
Well, we should. Why don't we just introduce our guest for today? How about that? First of all, let's bring on Will and say hi to Will Torbet. Will, welcome to
Tony, how's it going?
Unplugged.
Good, Will. It's good. It's good. We're both in Colorado, so you got the same weather I got. Yeah,
same weather. Yep. That's for sure. Thanks for having me on the show today, Chris. I really do appreciate you reaching out.
Oh, it's our pleasure, not anything else, but my and Tony's pleasure to have you on.
I'm trying to get better reception, so bear with me.
Are you trying not to fall off the roof? Please do it. So I'll get it live, and that way we can see it live. If you fall off the roof, that'd be great. Okay. Now,
just remember 911. Okay, just remember
that's
that.
well.
All right.
That's 611, isn't? I don't
Well,
remember.
yeah. Wait a second now. And if you see people walking around, they're not part of the show unless we want them to be. So just
just
bear
ask
with
them to
what
join
goes
us
on.
and ask them what they know about him too, and see what goes
There
on
it
there.
is. Yeah.
All right. The next person I want to bring on is Dr. Arnie Doobay.
Oh, hi guys. How are you doing?
Welcome, Arnie. Appreciate you being on the show today.
Well, I am honored to be with celebrities. I don't often get that kind of opportunity. I am just a little wheel greaser, as they would say, but I'm happy to be able to join you guys. But I noticed that Tony seems to be off the ground.
Yeah.
He's either flying in the air, or he's trying to get to heaven before everybody else.
Well, I don't know that that's going to happen live here, but hopefully it won't, Arnie. If it does, I want you all of you to join in prayer and support whatever prayer Arnie's going to send my way. I do have to ask you a question though, Arnie. How on earth do you look younger every time I see you? What you must be using some kind of moisturizer or something. What's the secret?
I was telling the guys, I just finished having a lovely bowl of cow heels soup.
That's the answer. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe that did it for today.
We need to bottle that and see if we can get it for sale. I like it.
Right. Tony, the only way you're going to get to heaven from there faster than we do is if you fall off the roof. That's the only way you're going to get to heaven faster than anybody else.
It's about 50 or 60 feet, so it's going to be a good drop. That's for sure.
Yeah, it will be.
I don't think he's planning to come down. I think he's planning that the clouds will take him up.
Yeah. You know what I was trying to do, Arnie? I figured if something happens, I'm closer to heaven. So I figured, let me get as high as I possibly can, because that's the only
I don't blame you. Don't look down, though. Keep looking up.
You need all the help you can get, Tony. All right.
Yes,
our next guest on our panel is Julia, my favorite and the famous Julia.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Julia. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Julia.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah. Hi, Julia.
I'm going to be watching like this in case Tony falls.
Well, no. Don't you want to see it? Don't you want to see it? You want to see it live?
I don't enjoy watching people fall.
I need witnesses in case somebody says, "Hey, he jumped," and we're not paying the life insurance to your kids. That way, you can see it, and I'm not witnessing.
You've got some birds out there that'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
probably.
He's probably got a drone up there watching it. The roofing.
Yeah, I do, but it's not up here. It's not up here. Yeah.
I think he wants to get a bird's eye view of things.
Yeah. It is.
Oh, Arnie, you're on a roll today, Arnie. Okay, all right, I love it. All right, we need to start out this panel discussion. As all of you know, we're going to be talking about M2 and basically the past, the present, and the future. But to kick it all off, I'd like to let Tony K kick it off from his vantage point, and I'll get out of the way for a moment.
So you're going to put me on the spot. That's just great. Thank you very much. Well, I think what I'd like to do, on the spot on the roof. I'd love to ask all of you guys, as Christopher said, we're kind of looking at where M2 started, where we think it is now, or what we think where it's going in the future. And when I say we, I mean as a community, as a group, and obviously what your individual thoughts and wishes or whatever. I can tell you, just giving a couple of cents of mine, and it's not worth more than a couple of cents, but originally I had hoped we would be able to use our seeds or our os to do whatever we're going to do with M2, and that might still be in the works. I don't know. We're not sure, but hopefully that's the case. But instead of me saying what I thought or think or hope, I want to know what you guys do. I want to step out and you guys bounce off each other and just bring us in as you need, or we might just jump in here and there. Will that work for you guys?
Sounds
Sure.
good to me.
Okay.
Just jumping in, Arnie, you're going to have to quieten the background a little bit for us, my friend. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not getting much talking, but
It's just you've got a real active mic, that's for sure. But
Yeah,
anyway,
your
be it
mic
as it
is
may,
picking it up pretty good.
just so all I've already Julia didn't hear my beginning, but that is I don't want Tony's asking this question, but I don't want him to have to ask each of you what you think. I want you guys to get on and just talk among yourselves like you're across the board table from each other. So if you can do that and just comment between each other, I think that would make this a real special event. So I'm going to get out of the way again. Go ahead, Tony.
All right, so you just threw us in a pot, I think.
You're
Yeah.
in the pot. Yes.
And
Good.
we're going to talk across the table, which we've never done before, but we've all talked to Tony and Christopher, so we'll just make this comfortable.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to back out, so you guys are on your own for a moment.
So I think each of us probably comes at this from a different perspective. Arnie's probably going to have something completely different than Will and I in this ball game, because M2 has such a significance in much of what you've done for a different purpose. And I think Will and I probably are on the other side of it with a different experience. But the first thing I want to talk about, so if we're going to talk about anything, obviously there are questions. We're all working through this whole thing. It's pretty new to all of us. Always start out with the really good things and always start out with the really positive things. I think that's the best place to start. And for me, one thing I've noticed about M2, and we're going to talk about the present. So in the present, M2 we know is linked with Ethereum and tends to go up and down the scale with Ethereum as Ethereum increases and decreases. However, one thing I noticed that was really interesting is when Ethereum was at its highest, was the last time the M2 and Ethereum were both at their highest. Ethereum, I think, was close to 5,000, and M2 had reached, I guess, 0.052 or 0.0052. This time when M2 got back, so we had the market come down and then the market came back up. Well, this time when M2 reached that place again, 0.0052, Ethereum was only at 400 or 4,000. Sorry, not 400. That was a year and a half, 2 years ago. So when it reached that point, you can see that there was now a separation where there was a little independence between M2 and Ethereum in their all-time high price. So that was a positive thing for me, showing that that M2 does kind of have its own support and it's holding very, very well at where it's at in relation to Ethereum. So that's a positive if anybody understood what I just said.
I quite agree with you there, Julia. And first of all, let me say I am delighted to be with you on this panel. That what you have just said is something that brought great excitement to me personally. And I think you use a good word, and that is it's M2 showed some independence. It showed some stability, and it also showed some strength. And that takes me back. You're talking about the present. I want to go back a little. When M2 started, and I just sat and listened to our guys that we have. And I want to say thanks to our team, people like Richie and Ray and Mark and the whole team as a whole, for the hard work that they have put into what we have today. Uh, I think I can say that I have great confidence in the team of people that are working with us and for us, and that to me means a lot. Uh, what I have done, because of my confidence in the team that we have, I focus a lot on selling M2, introducing M2 to people who have never heard about cryptocurrency, never heard the word cryptocurrency, never heard the word Bitcoin or Ethereum. And to go to people like these and talk to them about cryptocurrency, it's not easy. But I want to say, just last evening, I was speaking to a crowd of people, and also it was being televised in Ecuador here. And to be able to explain to people what it is, what cryptocurrency is, using Bitcoin as an example, and then in sharing with them our WPE as an example, trying to create in their mind a bit of confidence and faith in the direction the whole economic situation internationally is moving. Then bringing in M2 and talk about M2 uh, when it started, and gradually we are seeing strength, growth. And you have used a beautiful word there just now, as I said, the strength and stability, it seems that it can stand on its own. That to me is powerful. For me, that is. And it helps me to be able to convey with confidence the message that we want to deliver to people regarding M2.
Yeah, and I agree, Julia. That's a very valid point you make there. And Arnie, you use a very powerful word in my mind too, and that's confidence, right? So people get more comfortable with participating in something that they have a lot of confidence in. And as you pointed out, Julia, the kind of decoupling and the outpacing of M2 compared to ETH or Ether, right, is very important to be able to have that confidence in a cryptocurrency that can stand on its own.
Yeah, I feel like too, when we're talking about confidence, so there are two ways to look at this. So for those of us who are really trying to help people with M2, we're not people with M2, trying to help people using M2, right? So we're bringing people in, and M2 is being a tool. And once the white paper came out, I think, if did you guys read it? It was, the idea behind it is beautiful, right? It's not a sales brochure. It's a very beautiful concept, is what M2 is supposed to be. Some of us, I think, are, I think we have to put it in perspective. So there are definitely some, all right, where are we going? We need some perspective on where we should be versus where we are. However, M2, if we isolate M2 the way that we kind of having been there from the beginning, we can get a little more critical about what we think it should be doing. If we lump M2 with cryptocurrency as a whole, M2 has done far better than most cryptocurrencies on the planet have done in such a short amount of time. So I think one thing that we need as a group for understanding how to promote and discuss M2 properly and build that confidence with people is, and with all due respect to marketing teams, this is what marketing teams are supposed to do. They're supposed to encourage people to believe in something, to get on board. It's going to be the best thing ever, but we have to have a realistic idea of how it becomes the best thing ever. So in the time frame that M2 has been alive, it's done really well. It's holding well. It's gaining independence. It's doing all the things we want it to. I think that we all maybe had a mindset with all of the hype in the beginning that it was going to be an overnight sensation that broke the news. I think that's what we thought, because if we always talk about when's it going to be $1. If M2 had reached $1 as quickly as people were expecting it to, it would have been absolutely the greatest and most phenomenal thing that ever happened. So especially the way that it was birthed and brought forth. So having a realistic view of what we expect and being able to promote that accurately. People like me brought people in saying, this is going to be an overnight sensation. It's going to be fantastic. Get on the calls, listen to the stuff. It's going to be it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen. But then the market changed, and as people do, they got discouraged instead of understanding the broad spectrum and perspective of what the whole market, but M2 itself is doing. So, we have to be realistic, but we also have to have a realistic understanding of it to put out there so that we don't turn confidence into discouragement for people.
Mm-hmm. Julia, that's a very, very important point. And I hope that people would understand what I'm going to say right now. When I look at the social community, I see people who want to impact other people. I see people as a community who want to see other people rise. And as I said, I'm going to be very careful in saying this. It would have been great for many people if M2 had just soared into the air. But I'll tell you one thing that I have seen, and which I am thankful and I'm happy about, and that is I'm happy that M2 is still at a stage or at a rate where poor people can be able to get their hands on it. Because as I explained to a lot of people, M2 is going to transform their lives. M2 is going to make them sustainable. And I'll give you an example. You take as an example the houses that we are building. When someone registers to get a home, what we do is on behalf of our group, and this includes Be Social Community, we don't do something on our own. It's always representing the family of Be Social. And I always use that word, the family of Be Social. When we gave them 1,000 M2 tokens, I am able to explain to them that this 1,000 tokens, using Bitcoin as an example, how it grew in 10 years, that in 10 years, they will have, in fact, less than 10 years, that 1,000 tokens that was given to them is going to give them their home free of charge, at no cost. Plus, they're going to have a lot of money sitting in their wallets that can easily sustain them in their retirement. And I show them that reality. People, their eyes just bulge when they hear that. And you can see that smile just increasing on their face. It changes their expression, as if to say, wow, is this real? And I say, yes, it is. This is what Be Social is all about.
Arnie, I've got to move it to a little different direction here for a moment, and that is, how do we get M2 into those people's hands? Now, as we know, it can't be mined right now, and I hope they're working on a project where it can. But let's talk about how it gets into their hands so they properly use it in the future, and increase their livelihood. Give me a little sketch. All three of you, give me a little sketch on that, because I think there's some questions there.
Okay, there are three ways in which we introduce M2 to them. First of all, we encourage them on Opus app, on the Opus app, And we encourage them to mind that, because in the days to come down the road, that opus ars is going to be very valuable to them. The second thing is that when they register for their home, we put 1,000 M2 tokens in their hands, and we walk with them through uh, the process of how this will benefit their lives. The third thing that we do is that we encourage them to invest in M2, showing them how M2 down the road is not only going to be beneficial to them financially, but it's the future of their children and the future of their grandchildren. The world there's a transition that's going on, and we talk to them about that transition. I don't know how you are the guy, how you guys view that, and what has been happening on your side of the fence.
Well, I just, Will, I'd like for you to jump in. I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to anyway. What, what do you
Well,
say? What do you see as the future of M2?
well, so the way that Arnie's doing it, Arnie's approach, right, is a very boots on the ground grassroots effort, which is very commendable. Understanding that we're still in a growth market, we don't have full adoption yet. Adoption's yet to come. Um, those efforts are very beneficial for laying the foundation, right? And then the
Where did Will go? I can only hear Arnie.
Yeah, he's going to come back.
I'm sorry. I said Julie. Oh, Tony's, Will's back. Go ahead, Will.
did I get out? What was the last thing you heard me say, Christopher?
Just that you
Boots
were
on the ground.
That's it. Boots on the
Oh,
ground. Thank you, Ernie.
right, the boots on the ground effort, right? But then expanding from there, I mean, there's going to be tools, there's going to be solutions, there's going to be other applications that are built that are going to be designed to utilize M2. And that's another way, as those applications become more widespread, that's another way to get the level of penetration that M2 needs, in order to get more widely adopted, in my mind, anyways.
I think that that's kind of what the community needs to hear and be focused on is, or, and ask the questions, what type of utilities are coming to help advance M2? Because that's what cryptocurrencies do. If you go and look at, like, I follow what Cardano is doing, and there are a couple other ones that I really like. And they're always offering the next project that's coming out or the next part of it. And I think as long as, if you're into M2, stay with M2, stay focused on what the projects are, ask those questions. And when we start lumping all these new projects for other tokens and other things into it, we get lost and we start to think, have we moved on? Have we moved past M2? Are we doing anything? Is that in the past? And we're on to the next thing. I think having the ability to find out about the new utilities that will come and the new ways to use M2 and the projects that are in the works for M2 helps us to go to people and promote that and show that M2 has a future and it has future uses, and that people are interested in it. The other thing is people on this side of it. So on Arnie's side of it, 10 years is nothing. For the people that he's influencing and supporting and encouraging, they have the patience for 10 years. Those of us on this side are not 10 years patient. So we have to decide how long we're willing to build this and how long we're willing to wait, because cryptocurrency tends to be what most people look at is trading. And if they're looking at the trading market, that's a quick, short-term, fast. That's not an investment. Whereas 10 years for me, 10 years blew by. And I could imagine if I had done this 10 years ago and I could be where I project M2 to be in 10 years, I'd be in a great place right now. So patience, and we need to decide before we go into a project like M2, what our patience level is for seeing something grow. So That's my perspective.
I
Is
want to expand on that, Julia, if I might.
Huh?
And that is, you're talking about having the future of M2 and the future projects that have that the masterminds have in mind, shall we say, right? And have that introduced on a regular basis to the community. Would you think that would be valuable?
yeah, absolutely.
Julia, you touch on something there which is very, very important. And I think for everyone, the beautiful thing about M2 is that M2 is a tool for one who is an investor. M2 is also a security for a person who does not have much education but can embrace M2 and see that M2 provides stability and sustainability for them and a hope for their children. That is where the 10 years come in. But what we are doing now is that along with this, listen, let's be realistic. The single largest investment any person will make in their lifetime is to acquire a home. And I'm talking about the developing world now. I'm not talking about downtown Manhattan or California or Toronto. I'm talking about where the majority of the world population lives. And what Be Social is doing is bringing hope to these people. The vast majority of the people that we are dealing with are farmers, are low income people. A lot of them, I wouldn't say the majority, but a lot of them don't have a secondary education. They have a cell phone, but all they know about that cell phone is to make a call and to receive a call. To send them on internet to search is, oh, I don't know about internet. Maybe my children or my grandchildren. So what we are doing is we are giving them the picture of M2 and the potential of M2. Then now we are targeting the schools, the universities and the high schools, where our young people who that's where their life is, clicking all day. And that's where we are presenting to them the educational part of Be Social. What is Be Social? What is M2? What is cryptocurrency? How does cryptocurrency work? How does cryptocurrency benefit them? Zeroing in on M2. So, in brief, I'm glad you mentioned about um, uh, investors. They don't have 10 years. They don't want to wait 10 years. 5 years is too long for them. They're looking for within a year, max 2 years. But the people that we are targeting, there are some of them who will fall into that category because they're not looking for a home. They already have their home. And we are showing them how they should invest in M2 to provide additional security for themselves.
But in
Okay,
order
I just
Go ahead.
go ahead, Julia. I'm
I
sorry.
was going to say, in order for that to become, to realize that possibility for those people, though, on this side, it's got to be invested in. This is this is where the popularity. So it's great for them to get it. It's great for them to buy into it. But in order to push it up to become that utility that they need to become a currency, which is M2 is also designed to be a currency, not just a security and investment. It's a currency. So in order for that to happen, this is the side that has to believe in it, I think, as much as they do, so that it will actually move to that. And in order for that to happen, like I said, we're the ones, because we do have the home, we're focused on the development of those utilities. We need to see and to promote and be able to understand what all this is going to do and what utilities will be available for it, so that people will invest and therefore realize the potential for the growth in underdeveloped countries.
Your side, you have the fuel for the fire.
Yeah. Will, what's the future of M2?
Well, the way I see it, Christopher, Julia brought up some good points about other cryptocurrencies like Cardano and other ones, right? And so when you dive into cryptos, right, you have to understand there are some cryptocurrencies that are designed to be the economy of a specific blockchain. Okay. There are other cryptocurrencies that are designed to be governance tokens that are used for voting rights. And then there are other cryptocurrencies similar to M2 that are used for just straight transaction of goods and services. And M2 has a very bright future in that area. I mean, it's not very competitive. There's not a lot of cryptocurrencies out there that operate in that capacity outside of their native blockchain, right? You use Dash as an example. Dash has become, and Arnie, I don't know how familiar you are with the Dash token, but it's become basically a replacement for a state-sponsored normal fiat currency, right? And it's very pervasive and has very great penetration down in South America. I think specifically the main area where DAP is being utilized is in Argentina, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves me correctly. And M2 has a shot to be just that and more, because M2 is not just looking to replace, state-sponsored fiat currency. M2 is designed, and the spirit behind it, from my understanding, to raise people up and to allow people to have a better lifestyle and to be able to have a more robust lifestyle and be able to, live their best life, to use a cliche term. But I really see a bright future for M2. And just on a personal level, the reason why I got behind M2 when M2 first came out, I wasn't thinking of myself. I was thinking of my grandchildren. I want my grandchildren's future to be secure. And I know M2 will do just that. It will secure their to where they don't necessarily have all the stresses that we may have, worrying about how the bills are going to get paid and all the other financial stresses in our life right now.
So
I endorse that, Will.
Yeah, Tony, you're on. Why don't you jump in here, Tony?
My internet is really sketchy, so I'm trying to move around and see if I can pick it back up and still stay engaged. So sorry about that, and it's really bright out here. But I don't know if you guys heard a couple of the questions that I asked at the beginning about where you think things could go for the future, in as much as not what the M2 value is, but necessarily what the use case is in other platforms and other stuff like that. And I don't know whether you have a comment on that, Will, or Arnie, or Julia. I think we're losing Julia for reception, but any response to that, Will?
Can you restate that again? Sorry,
my internet's probably not doing great
no,
right
no,
now.
no, you're good.
No, as far as the use case in the future, as to where you think M2 is going to have a place, as I said at the beginning, I don't know if Julia heard what I said at the beginning, but or Arnie or yourself, and that was originally my intent, of course, or my understanding was that we were going in a certain direction, such as mining M2 with seeds or with the OS from the Opus wallet. And again, I don't know if that's still going to happen or if it's in the future or what it is. But as far as how you see M2, its use case in not necessarily just in countries where Arnie's focusing in, but just a worldwide thing. What is your what's your viewpoint on where you think that could possibly go?
Yeah, so I see M2 once it gets to the level where people are very aware of what M2 is, right? Once it gets to the level, and this takes a lot of work to get there, but once it gets the exposure it needs, eventually I see M2 being used to transact every day for goods and services, right? I see M2, you'd be able to put M2 in your wallet, you'd be able to go down to the grocery store, you'll be able to buy your groceries with M2. And you won't ever have to be relying on fiat currency or necessarily other cryptocurrencies where right now current state, as an example, they may say you can pay with crypto, but that's not the truth. That's not the whole story, because what they do is they're converting it on the back end for you, right? Whereas M2 will be able to stand on its own. You'll be able to transact it daily, just like right now you're transacting fiat currency or cash.
I endorse that, Will, because as I was saying earlier, only yesterday evening, discussing with a group of people about M2 and the possibility in the future where they will be using M2 to do their purchases, whether it's in the market, the grocery store, pay their electricity bill. I believe that's what's going to happen.
Julia, what do you have as far as what you see for the next 3 months or the next 3 years? Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you. Based on what I understand about the design of M2, I expect, even if nobody does very much with it, which I hope is not the case, and I don't see as being the case, but if nobody did anything, M2 has the potential, based on its design, to continue going up, even in small increments. So I expect that to continue to grow. However, for this to really get people's attention, I think that I don't want to wait on the market to take off. I'd like to see M2 have a life of its own. So I'm hoping that's what happens. I really don't know what's up everyone's sleeve, or you guys call them the masterminds. I don't know what's up their sleeve for the future of M2, other than what we've already been told, which is pretty significant, right? It's really a unique currency. But for the future, I expect if we did nothing, that it would slowly move as it separates from Ethereum and takes on its life. But I still think that M2 alone needs its own adoption. And I think that we need to have a way to coherently and cohesively explain the other possibilities for the immediate, so that the people who we need to invest in it will do so. And we do, if we want to see it do what it's meet its potential, which is a word I like to use. For M2 to meet its potential in the near future, it's going to take more than just sitting on it and a small group of people waving flags. It's going to take some real marketing. But let me say, I don't know how many of you read the article that was written about M2. Did any of you read that? There was an article picked up from an outside source that was not within the Bees community that wrote a nice piece on M2 that was a really good start. We need about 100 more of those. And I hope to see that boost us forward. But I think revisiting and M2 and putting it back on the front page, if you will, is going to be necessary in the future. So.
Well, and Julia, you make a good point there, right? Because in order for M2 to realize its full potential, there has to be exposure of M2 and what M2 does outside of our community, outside of the Beast community, outside of our group, right? There needs to be a great awareness campaign that's put to the forefront. And everybody goes and investigates it. They go to do their research. They go to read the white paper.
We're losing you on the mic, Will.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you
Is
go.
that better? Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, so this way they can do their own research, and this way they can find out more about M2 and what M2 is capable of doing, and what M2 is not. And there's just a lot of exposure outside of our community right now that needs to happen in order for M2 to realize that full potential. Yeah. And I think it's up to each and every bee, and I'll challenge each and every bee in this community to go out and have these conversations, right? Let people know outside of your inner circle, whether you're comfortable doing it or not, about what M2 is and what M2 has the potential to be, and what M2 is currently doing.
Would it be unreasonable for me to say, and I mean this sincerely with all due respect for everyone, would it be unreasonable for me to say that we need to refocus on M2?
I don't think that's unreasonable. I think there are a lot of great projects out there. I'd like to see. So this is suggestions by Julia hour. So I would like to see. I would like to see us be able to simultaneously promote projects. And I know when something's brand new, we tend to push the other stuff to the side, and everybody get on board and push the new stuff, which is great. But I think having a nice streamline where everything is tied together in some way, and we need to not give the appearance that we have abandoned M2. I know we haven't abandoned M2, but from the outside, from people who many of us brought in, it would appear that we've abandoned that growth aspect. So I think having a plan where, okay, we're going to launch this new thing, we're all going to get on board, and then still promoting the plan for M2 and some of the other projects, because you can get lost in the sauce. So some coherence and cohesive stuff. And as much as it relies on the community talking about it and saying, hey, have you heard about M2? I don't do that for Ethereum, and Ethereum still goes and does its thing. So hopefully, like I said, it gets to the point where we do not want to appear to be network marketers in our attempt to do this. We want to appear to be promoting a product that can hold its own, and that has a life of its own, and has real technological geniuses behind it, which we know it does. If you read and the white paper, and let me say something about white papers. Can I have permission to do that? Do I have permission to talk about white papers? From you guys?
I wish you would. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, since Bitcoin, until M2, my personal opinion is that there has not been a proper or appropriate true white paper. And a white paper in research and science is supposed to be, collective examples, expectations, and possibilities based on research, science, testing. It's not supposed to be a sales brochure like it's become in the crypto world. You can go to one of those like Fiverr or one of those sites, and you can pay $100 to have a white paper written for something like M2, which would completely not represent it. All you'd be getting is, some obscure person who has nothing to do with your project, coming up with really fun terms based on other research of other white papers, to put in for $100. You get $100 to $200. You can get a white paper. People who desire a white paper for their project have no idea what they're actually asking. They're asking you to give them a sales pitch and to hype you up instead of giving you an example of what they really want. So M2 has a true white paper. Cardano doesn't have a white paper. Cardano is a functioning and has a bright future, and it does not have a white paper. It is based on excellent research and science and white papers from other projects that were put together, I think 3 of them, to come up with this currency. And they didn't feel the need with their technological understanding to have to sell their product using a sales brochure. So they just made something that worked out the kinks. It was really good, and they went with it. And Cardano is a great product. So M2 is a true white paper. I really love what they've done, but it's probably disappointing to people coming in because it's not a sales brochure. There's no hype. It's information that most people can't understand, really. So
I think if we really understand what M2 is really all about. And in a sense, Julia, you're quite correct. We need to refocus on M2. We have shifted our focus from M2 a bit, and that is not to the benefit of M2. We need to refocus and just fuel the fire.
Yeah.
And from what I see, I mean, what's happening inside of the community, I think that focus is coming back to the forefront now.
Nice.
But I mean, they're all great points. Each one of you make, regarding the white paper, Julia, and then Arnie regarding the focus. But yeah, I mean, there's people understand this community. There's a lot of projects in the hopper right now, and maybe it's easier to get distracted and lose focus a little bit. But I agree with that focus being regained towards what's the heart and soul of the Be Social community, and I believe that M2 is that heart and soul that's driving all this forward. And I'm sure there's some grand architectural plan behind everything, and there's a reason
I think so.
for why everything else is happening. And I'm a very patient person. Right?
So the statement that was just made that came up was that they believe that the other projects will help promote M2, which I agree. It says, I think all of these other projects in total will help M2's growth. And I agree with that as well, as long as we're streamlining the focus and not, I'm not saying this is what's happening or the truth. What I'm saying is we can give the appearance of abandonment as if we're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. And we have to be careful as a group of people. I'm a business owner. I own my own business, and I have to have a strategy. And I have to understand what people see from the outside. When I speak, when I present my business, when I do an ad, my ads have to be geared toward what the people are going to hear versus what I'm trying to convey. And so I think we as a group, if we're going to discuss M2 and we want to see it grow and we have questions, problems, comments, concerns, then we need to get together and discuss how we are perceiving and projecting it to the public. It doesn't mean that we actually have abandoned M2, but we certainly may have given the impression that we're throwing a bunch of things at the wall to see what sticks, because that is what other companies do. So the goal is to differentiate ourselves
Exactly.
and our company from that. Let's prove to them, show them, and use the right language to present the difference.
And that's what refocusing does.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just like in sports, right? It's like in sports, when a team strays too far away from the fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
Regularly, the coach will rein them back in to focus on the fundamentals because they've strayed too far away from there, right?
Sure.
Not saying that that's what we've done, and not saying that that's what our focus has done with them too necessarily, but I think having that focus on the fundamentals, having the focus on the foundational layer, and then building from there is very important for the growth in the future of M2.
Yeah.
And I still believe that we have got, as Julia, you rightly mentioned, we have got some great minds behind us and within the family of Be Social. And I am sure that our guys have got something that they're going to be coming out with. I believe that with all my heart. They're going to surprise us.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Well,
I like to be pleasantly surprised in the end, right?
Please
I'm looking forward to that surprise. Honestly,
I
am.
don't like surprises, though, guys. I'd like to know the path. Come on.
You're taking away the fun out of it.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I like to go to circuses too, but I don't like to be surprised when the Ferris wheel turns over. Okay, so anyway, but this has been a fantastic discussion. All of you, wow, we have dug deep down into a topic that is so important to this community, and as Will said, it's the foundation of this community. And with that being said, I think he's right on target. Julia and Arnie, I think you would agree with what Will said there, and it is important. I'd like to bring Tony in right now as we close out this episode because we've gone much longer than we
Yeah.
normally, because it's been such a great discussion. You guys have done fantastic. I mean, really
So,
fantastic.
On that
Chris,
note,
just before
Chris,
Tony
I'll-
comes in, I just want to say something. In spite of what we see, in spite of what we say, don't forget, Be Social is unique. We're a great family. We're doing great things. Don't allow the little things to divert our attention. Let us encourage the people who are the foundation, the minds, and the guys who will surprise us. We want them, and we want them to be there for a long time. So I want to say, on behalf of our panel, thanks very much to all you guys for what you have done and for what you're still doing. Thank you very much.
Well said, Arnie, and it's much appreciated. I can see everyone shaking their head, so in agreement, and me along with that. I'd like to invite everyone to a 2.0 M2 discussion when I'm maybe not around. There's helicopters and airplanes, all kinds of stuff. I apologize for all the noise in the background, but so I'm going to thank you all and invite you back with Chris's blessing to come on to the 2.0 M2 discussion. How's that?
Well, it shows even more of the future. All three of you, I appreciate so much. You're being honest, straightforward, and candid about your thoughts, and that was what I wanted to achieve here with people who understood it best. And that's not me. I don't understand it best. So I just wanted to turn you guys loose and let you chat. Here we go now. As we finish out this particular episode, thank all three for your gracious presence at our podcast. And we'll wrap up this episode of the Swarm Unplugged.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you very much, Chris. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
God bless you all.
God bless all my Beats family.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Swarm Unplugged podcast. Be sure to hit the follow button and leave us a glowing comment. Gravitate yourself to be on the podcast so you are the next one to introduce themselves to the Be Social community. See you on the next episode.